unlike the Kings, I'm not going to do a last-minute switcheroo. Not even last minute, a last-second switcheroo. I'm here, I'm starting, and Michael Bolton, he's also starting.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and look, Daddy, I'm a surfer. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet $5, and if you win that first $5 bet, you get $200 in bonus bets. Also, check out lockedondaily.com and sign up for the best newsletter for your favorite NBA team 5 days a week, and it is free. Also, subscribe here, double bang, comment. I think we know how it goes by now, but if you're new somehow, hey, how's it going? Welcome, subscribe, don't leave. Let's talk about what we need to talk about. It is National Black Forest Cake Day. A goated cake. I'm not a big chocolate cake guy. That's probably the exception. I think it's the cherries and the cream that offset it for me, but whatever. It's okay. I am a Black Forest Ghetto fan. Let's talk a little bit of news. What sort of stuff we need to get into here. There's a few little injury update pieces for tomorrow. In New Orleans, Zion Williamson and CJ McCollum are out again. That is incredibly worrying as to what happens from here on out, because they have not played since Monday. Zion's been out for over a week now with back soreness. Is that it? Are they done? Because this is the time. I know people love to fantasize about a fake shutdown at Christmas or at the All-Star break or in the middle of January, but this is when it happens. This is when the fake injuries really start to occur, and you start to get guys that just, there's nothing wrong and they're done. This is where it happens. So I would be very worried about Zion and CJ moving forward. LaMelo Ball also out on Friday, and then they have Sunday, Monday against two other bottom four teams, the Pelicans and the Jazz. They've got the Raptors on Friday. So three terrible teams. The Raptors obviously aren't going to be putting out their guys. They rested a bunch of guys. The Raptors could have played their guys in this game. But Charlotte needs to stay in the bottom four, and they need to move into the 3 and the 2 if they can. So I would expect there is a chance that LaMelo is out the next 3 games. I don't know if that's true or not. And the same, Mark Williams is playing Friday, but I think he'll be out Sunday and Monday. So just be aware of this. So it could be a KJ Simpson time on Friday. The Knicks point guards, there's no Brunson. His replacement is Juice McBride. He is out. His replacement is Campaign. He is out. So it's Tyler Kolek and DeLon Wright. Wright hasn't been playing really at all, and Kolek is giving us nothing shooting-wise, but he is a double-digit assists threat with a couple of steals. We'll see whether they split him down the guts or it's 30 Kolek, 18 Wright. If it is down the guts, they're both 12-team options. Wright is a better player. If it's 30 minutes to Kolek, he becomes useful, but this is only a short-term stream sort of thing, not a long-term move. And then we got the news in Utah that Jordan Clarkson's having some surgical procedure on his foot for the plantar fasciitis, and I will say this. If he is legitimately undergoing surgery, and they said he's having a surgical procedure, so I wouldn't know why he wouldn't. Why has he been playing? What are you doing? He has had this plantar fasciitis issue since, was it December? November? Why would you have come back and played? There is no sense to that. Have the surgery, get it done, rehab done, work out in the offseason, be ready. That is insane to me. For it to come back and play completely useless games across January and February and March. I just honestly create what? That makes no sense, at all. None whatsoever. Let us, should we talk about waiver wire trends? Who's been added and who's been dropped across the fantasy landscape over the last 48 hours? The most added player, number 1, is Gaz Trent, who's been getting a lot of minutes with Damian Lillard out. It could be Kevin Porter. It could be Ryan Rollins, who gets the big bump there as well. Last game it was hard to judge because Gianni was out. I think if you wanted to add Porter, it's okay. If you wanted to add Trent, it's okay. But I think Rollins could easily start next game as well. It's a little hit or miss. Anthony Black. In fact, that is Mr. Black. That wasn't a very good Mr. Black. Mr. Black. That's better. He's the second most added player, Anthony Black. And yeah, he's had some good games. There is no question about that. We'll talk about the Magic game later on. Bub Carrington is one of the more added players. His minutes are safe because he's terrible. and the Wizards want to lose, so his role is okay. It's gonna probably hurt your fantasy teams though. Scott Pippen's a really strong ad. Ja Morant continues to be out, as they finally just said, yeah, he pinged his hamstring in a game against the Cavs. Like, bro, why was that never mentioned? I did this team and their injuries. The reporting's terrible. People added DeAndre Jordan. Okay, we're dropping him very obviously. And then Alex Caruso, one of the more added players. And, hey, to break it to you, but something broke with him, and he was ruled out for the second half of the game today, as is written in scripture. The most dropped player, he's injured, campaign, see you later, bye-bye. Easy drop. Max Christie, well, maybe he gets a little bit of value bumping, but we'll talk about that later. The Hong Kong mattress, Cason Wallace, we get rid of him. Trey Lyles, an easy drop. Aaron Wiggins, an easy drop. And Keyshawn George, an easy drop. These are easy drop decisions, and there is literally nothing controversial, I don't think, about any single one of those moves. Let's talk games. First game, Dallas and your Orlando Magic, and they lose the Magic. The Mavs get a win, and they are probably going to make the play-in, I guess. I don't know. That play-in area with Sacramento and Phoenix and Dallas, I don't feel confident about anybody's hopes as they get into the actual playoffs, but they're all like, they're there at least, and Dallas gets another little sneaky win. What does it mean? Well, Anthony Davis returned in this game for the Mavericks, and obviously he started, and Kessler Edwards, who was the guy that replaced him in the last one, he moved to the bench and he just won't play. And the earliest he can play is the final 2 games of the season, depending on what they want to do with that contract, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a second. Brandon Williams, another big game. 27 minutes, 14, 2 and 6 with 2 steals. Now, Williams has 2 games left, I believe. Let me double check that. I think he's got 2 games left on his 2A contract. So he is almost one on Saturday. And then after that, done. So if you wanted to add him for a 1-gamer, you add him for a 1-gamer. A bit better of a game from Christie, 12 points with 2 threes and 2 steals, but he started the second half. Now, he still only took 6 shots. I don't think we look at him as any more than a stream guy. The reason he started the second half is because Kai Jones got hurt. Now, Jones had been a pretty strong pickup. He had 4 and 5 in 7 minutes. He hurt his back, and this is what I'll throw out. I don't know how serious it is. I don't think it's massively serious, but we know that his 2A contract allowed him to play every game up until the final 2 games of the season, at which point he could be converted and play all the way through. If he sits out the next 2 games for injury, they won't have to convert him at the end of the season, and they then can convert Brandon Williams or Kessler Edwards instead, because they can only convert one of them. And the other thing is going to be is that which one of those guys, if they do make the play-in, because you have to be converted to make it into the play-in to be able to play. So that's going to be a decision. So it is possible that he sits out 2 games, plays all the way through, and then they make a judgment on whether it's going to be him or Williams or Edwards that gets the final roster spot and can be converted to a full contract and able to play in the play-in/playoffs. So I don't know what to do with Jones here. It's going to depend a lot on your individual situation and circumstance as to where you are in the standings and your matchup, but I do think there is a chance here that he doesn't play a few of these games. In terms of AD himself returning to the game, yeah, what are we doing, my guy? 15 and 7 in 29 minutes. He shot 26 from the field and 57 from the line. If you don't know, that's actually terrible. These are games that you actually would prefer that you didn't have him on your roster and that you didn't add him back in, not because these are bad. And I didn't think he was going to return, and that was a mistake for me. But honestly, if you dropped him and you missed these games this week, you're actually feeling pretty good about it, to be fair. These are shocking. These are not good at all. So he will get it back. He's Anthony Davis, but that's not good. We're obviously just not holding Klay Thompson, 12 points with 2 threes. Dinwiddie finally had a stinker in only 25 minutes. Shot poorly from the field and from the line. 7, 4, and 4 with 2 steals. I would try to hold him again. Brandon Williams got 1 game left only. And Najee Marshall also just disappeared entirely. I talked about how in his last game there were a million things that weren't going to hold. He wasn't going to play those minutes. He wasn't going to play that usage. He wasn't going to have that usage, and he wasn't going to shoot that well. 2 of those things happened. Now, he played the minutes because PJ Washington was out. But he took 5 shots, and he, didn't take a single free throw. He had 6 points, 4 rebounds, 2 steals. He's still a guy to hold, but the production wasn't there. What I am watching here, and could be an ad, is Jaden Hardy. 22 points in 20 minutes with 5 threes. Now, there's nothing else. He needs the role, he needs the minutes. But like I said, Brandon Williams has 1 game left. And when Brandon Williams' 1 game is over, that means that Jaden Hardy might play 30. And I don't know that I'd preemptively add him, but he is pretty close to that, I would say, at this point. Yeah, I'd say he's relatively close to being an option to add. I don't think I would do it yet, but we're getting there. On the Magic side of things, only 92 points for them. Still no Cole Anthony, and Anthony Black remained on the bench. He played 26 minutes. Not a bad game. 14, 3-3 with 2 blocks. It's not as good as some of his other ones. And at the moment, you probably do roster him until Cole returns. Corey Joseph is starting. He's doing very little because it's Corey Joseph. And Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, what a terrible season he has had. 0 points in 33 minutes. Wagner had 20 and 9. Paolo had 35 and 10. But honestly, there's no one helping. Isaac's out of the rotation. Basically, played, 6 minutes. Wendell Carter had some foul trouble. He also had the trouble of being Wendell Carter. 12 and 5 with 2 blocks. He's a stream guy only, and if you want to move on from him, now is the time to do it. But honestly, there's just not very much to talk about, I don't think, there with that Magic team and where their value lies. We do have 7 other games to talk about, though, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel in the interim because March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on that action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That is 200 extra bucks. You can use it on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories. Bet on who is cutting down the nets, bet on the favorites, bet on the underdogs, bet on whoever you want. Chuck your parlays together. Do it all over at FanDuel. It's so easy to do. It's fast to do. The app is simple to use. And when you do win, you get paid out instantly. So go to FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. That can take us through to the second game. We're talking Cavs and Spurs. The Cavs win at 124-116 over San Antonio. We'll start things off by looking at the Spurs, who didn't make any change to their starting lineup, so that means that Jeremy Sohan came off the bench again. We'll start with Sohan, an absolute bane for our existence, and this one he played 23 minutes and had 13, 5, and 2 with a block, which, if he didn't shoot poorly from both areas, would have been an okay game. And I just can't understand where it's going. I don't understand what the point of it is. What I do know is that outside of desperation single game streams or Schedule Plus stuff, we don't want to bother with that. McCollum had 0 points in 7 minutes. People are still clinging to that one big game that Mamu had, by the way. I've had people asking me some of the wildest, like, hey, do I add Khalil Ware or Sandro McCollum, like, questions like that. It's, bro, come on. There's a large difference here, so just be dissuaded from any love on Mamakalishvili. Vassell continues to use this time of the year to pad his stats. 22, 3, and 4 in 37 minutes, while the horse, Keldon Johnson, had a good double-double, 17 and 10. Didn't shoot well, but the volume and that was solid. What about Steph Castle? Well, he got his minutes up and his counting stats were great. 22, 11, and 8. He's been, and to get 11 rebounds and 8 assists out of him is good. But again, just absolutely brutal percentages. 39 from the field on huge attempts. 33 from the line on 6 attempts. They kill you in category leagues. For points leagues, a little bit different. For category leagues, he is tough. Now, I think you do roster him and you deal with it, but there are a lot of ups and downs, clearly. Biyombo had 2 blocks and 6 boards. That's what he is, a blocks and boards guy. While Champagny had a pretty good game, 16 and 7 in his 24 minutes. It is really hard to trust that on an ongoing basis, though, as this rotation's been pretty weird, I would say, is a good way to describe the way that Australian fast bowling legend Mitchell Johnson has been running it. Let's talk about the Cavs side of it. They rested Evan Mobley in this one, while Donovan Mitchell returned. We'll start with Mitch, 25, 8, and 14 with 4 threes. We've been talking about how bad he's been. This is an absolutely fantastic performance to get us back on track. Garland, yeah, maybe not so much. 10 points on 27% stinks. He had 9 assists. He had 2 steals, but that shooting is rough. And then without Mobley, we got an absolute banger from Jarrett Allen. 29 and 16 for a top 10 fantasy player with a steal and a block on 91% and 9 of 11 from the line. And that is a legitimately cracking game from Jarrett Allen, and you're going to love to see it. With the absence of Mobley, we got more from Hunter and more from Strus. The Winter Soldier had 18, 4, and 3 with 4 threes, while Hunter, 14, 7, 2 steals and a block. And they are very good to stream in on those days, but I do not want to hold on to them. It also helps. Not only was Mobley out, but Ty Jerome was out. So you're taking 2 rotation pieces out, you're taking 50-plus minutes out, and you're taking a lot of usage out. And that is how guys like Hunter and Strus become useful. And when that isn't the case, they're not. That is one of the easiest, I think, calculations, one of the easiest formula that you can look at in terms of trying to determine whether you want to use these guys. Someone's out, they're going to do more. People are in, they're not. I think that's, or they're going to do it on a more sporadic basis. I think it's a relatively clear guideline. Dean Wade started with Mobley out. Wado had 3 points in his 25 minutes, and despite at times being quite a good real-life player and defender, it really, really never translates over to fantasy numbers, unfortunately for him. We'll go on to the next game, and honestly, I think, especially for the Pacers side of things, what am I going to do here? They win 162 to 109, 162 guys over the Wizards. They rolled out the same starting lineup that they've been rolling out each game, and they cooked. Like, that was just, yeah. I'll give you 20 seconds on them. Jarris Walker had 16, 5, and 5. ignore everything. Just simply ignore the whole game. There is nothing you take out of this game from the Pacers' perspective. No one got hurt. No one did anything weird. They win by almost 50 points. In fact, they do win by 50 points, 53 points. Ignore it. I'm not going to tell you anything more about it. Nothing means anything in that game for the Pacers. A fantastic performance for them, but for our purposes, absolutely no purpose me wasting your time. The Wizards, a little bit different, because obviously they're the Wizards. Alex Sarr continues to put up very good numbers. Top 50 over the last 2 weeks. I never want to trust the shooting, but man, 53 and 83 from the field and the line, 22 and 7, a triple one. These are bloody good numbers, and they are just giving you a little tease into what he can do. Now, second half stats don't usually always carry over, but for rookies, they can. And this Wizards team, I think it is important to note that with him. Bub Carrington was fine, 13, 4, and 6. I'm not going to get overly excited about it. He's okay to stream without being a must. But remember, there was no Keyshawn in this one either. Chris Middleton left at halftime. He played 14 minutes, and they said, see you later, my guy. Knee soreness, cool, whatever. And what else did this? Oh, yeah, Justin Champagny, a nice 15 and 7 with 2 steals game. I don't think we still can trust him, though. What you will notice in this game is that, well, let's talk Jordan Poole, actually. 18 points, 4 threes, 2 steals. Pretty good numbers. But I talked about it a lot. I said, I get the feeling that Richaun Holmes played those minutes over Tristan Vukcevic last time out because it was against a good team. They were going to lose. And I said, here, vet, you've been biding your time. We've played the young guy. You can have this one. And I said, I'd be very worried about Vukcevic for this game. I think they might play Holmes. So they did play Holmes. And Holmes played 13 minutes with 9 points. Okay. Vukcevic didn't touch the court in the first half at all. But at halftime, Anthony Gill was ruled out. Holmes only played 13 minutes total, and I don't think he barely played in the second half for Sean. And we did get Vukcevic in. Now, he didn't play well, 4 points on 17% with no threes or no blocks, but he did play. But it gives us at least an idea that on these days against the better opponents, we can't really, at this point, have faith in Vukcevic. Against the bad teams, sure. I think he'll play 25 minutes in the next one, and I think you'll get a little bit of this. Maybe it's even on the back-to-back, so that could be a factor as well. Where on the back-to-backs, you're not going to rely upon him in both. I still think Vukcevic can be a top 100-ish player. But these little landmines, which, again, thankfully we did predict. We predicted this would be a rough spot for him and be very, very cautious because of the chance he gets DMP'd. Now, he didn't get DMP'd. He just did in the first half. But it is worth noting just how different it was. And he played the final, Vukcevic came in and played the final 15 minutes of the game, which basically was just all garbage time. So, is that... Yeah, how much are we reading into that, I guess? Colby Jones started the second half with Middleton out. He's doing some little bits and pieces here. Just we've got to be aware of his existence. 12 points, 2 threes, 3 steals. But we're not overreacting to what Colby Jones is doing. But they're going to be a frustrating team. I think we all know that. And the frustrations are... They're going to build up. They're going to build up. We'll go on to the next game. It is the Atlanta Hawks and the Miami Heat. The Heat win at 122-112 over the Hawks. They made a change. We saw last game in the second half, they did not start the night watchman Mohamed Wayuge. Instead, in that game, they went with, who was it that they went with? George Niang in the last game, but that wasn't the direction they went in this one. In this game, they actually went with Vit Krejci as the starting 3, moving Zach Ricochet over to the 4. Now, earlier in the season, we saw Krejci getting pretty good minutes, and then he got hurt, and then it didn't come back to it. But if this is what they do, 26 minutes for Krejci, 14, 6, and 4, 4 threes and a block. That's very interesting. That's 12-team worthy. And you should be considering that. You should be considering that. So just, keep an eye on if we get any word, they're going to keep doing that. But that's interesting. Let's talk about what Ricochet was able to do in this one, playing at the 4. 5 points and 0 rebounds. Okay. He had 4 assists. He had no defensive stats. It's impossible to just hold on to him. It's impossible. Dyson Daniels had 9 points. He had 8 rebounds and 2 steals. That, makes up for it. I think Trae Young didn't score for a period of time to begin the game, but ended up with 29 with 12 assists. Good game. And then we had Okongwu with his standard 15 and 9 at this stage. And then the bench guys, Niang, 14 minutes only. Yuck. Karis LeVert, 17 points in his 28 minutes. We got 14 minutes in 14 points and 27 minutes for Terrence Mann. I don't think Niang or LeVert or Mann are worth 12-team spots. Neither is Ricochet. Daniels, Okongwu, Young, yes. Krejci, maybe. But there's going to be a lot of fluctuation with a lot of these guys as we move forward. Let's look at the Miami side of this game. They went with the same starting lineup again, which meant that Alec Burks started. He played 16 minutes in a completely useless start again, 11 points with 3 threes. I said this the other day, and I said, just watch this, because I have witnessed Eric Spoelstra coach for a long time. I have witnessed things change over the last few years for him, and there are little signs that you can see about how he starts to feel about players. And I said that Khalil Ware had gone and played 31 and 32 and 35 minutes ago. Oh, okay, that's good. And then you just saw it go to 31, into 30, into 28. And I think I said in the last game, that's not looking good. That is trending the wrong way. I don't think he's going to be a DMP, but that is giving us the indication that in a couple of games he might be coming off the bench. Ware started, but he played 21 minutes. He had 7 points with 12 rebounds and a block, and at least we can sort of see stuff coming with Spoelstra. Now, he could easily play 30 in the next game. I don't think he will, but this has been a relatively common pattern. Wigo had 16, 5, and 3. That's pretty good, and we're back to big minutes from Haywood Highsmith, of course. The king of the variants, the Sonia Soidel legend, Haywood Highsmith, had the big minutes, 11 with 3 threes and 2 steals and 2 assists. That's good, right? But those minutes will trend back down when Spoelstra goes, oh yeah, shit, I forgot. And then he'll move back to the bench, and then Ware's minutes will jump up, or some other spud will come out of nowhere, and Josh Christopher will play 20 minutes, or Isaiah Stevens or something. We're getting continually big minutes from Davion Mitchell. He had 16 points, 4 threes, 6 assists, and a steal. And I'm starting to feel a little bit confident in saying, yeah, we maybe just want to have him. I don't feel fully confident in it, but I'm starting to get there. Well, Hero had 36, and Adebayo just 12 points. Bam, what a weird season he's had. 10 assists for Bam with 3 steals, but no blocks and horrible scoring. But we're in the downslope of Ware's value. Look at the schedule. Look at your roster. Look what you need. I would be worried, at least for the next little bit of time, next 2-3 games maybe, that we get low 20s, mid 20s minutes instead of 30s, and low 20s of Ware probably isn't a guy you want to hold on to necessarily. This is not going to be a disaster per se. It might be, but it is trending the way there, where like he came out after like 7 minutes gone in the third quarter, where and just never came back. He never came back, and they went with who they go with Kyle Anderson, and then Haywood Highsmith played basically the entirety of the second half. So just be aware of that change in Spoelstra's immediate short-term thinking that might not hold, but it's there. It's there. We got more games that we're going to talk about. So we're going to get into them. I think that's 4 down. 4 more to go. Including a buzzer-beating win, maybe. All right, let's do the next one. The Thunder easily take care of the Grizzlies. 125-104. Memphis rolling out that same starting group that I mentioned earlier with Scotty Pippen starting and no Ja Morant. Again, let's look at the Grizzlies' production, because it's Pippen just cooking. 17, 10, and 7 with 5 steals. These are ridiculous numbers. He's just a must-roster player. It's hard to judge this because there was a time he just disappeared and they didn't use him, and it was Kennard that was doing it all. But we're back to Pippen, so we go back to Pippen. Jalen Wells was solid, 13 and 5, but obviously there's just not enough there to have any real interest outside of deeper formats. And Des Bane, that is one of the worst. I reckon we'll hear from him in the lines of the night later, Desi Bane. 3 points on 8%. He did have 6 assists, but man, that is horrid. And Santi Aldama just was beautifully mid. 10, 5, and 5 with 33% shooting. He hasn't really gotten things going. At this stage, we're feeling, and I feel like this will give him a nice kick up the arse, because anytime I'll tell you that we can probably drop Aldama, he's going to have a big game. So, look, I think you can probably drop Aldama. You can definitely drop Edie, and I know he's not going to pop off. 8 and 4, in 17 minutes. Well, Vince Williams, there was a period where Williams was getting 24, 25 minutes, and they're just cutting that way back. I don't know what's going on exactly. 18 minutes for Vince with 7 points. We're very clearly not bothered with him or not rostering him, but it is a little bit weird to see the role push back from him when it looked like things might actually move in the correct direction for an improvement in value. On the Thunder side of things, there was still no Aaron Wiggins, but we did get the return of Jalen Williams, the Bronco, and then we lost the other Jalen Williams pig. He left this game at halftime, so did Alex Caruso. So if you've been rostering Caruso, with Williams back and then Caruso getting hurt, well, you're dropping him. 6 points for Alex. Pig Williams, if you rostered him, he played 8 minutes, you're dropping him. Hartenstein was great. 18, 11, and 4, 2 steals and 2 blocks. That is exactly what you wanted. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 37, 3, and 6 with 3 steals. Ridiculously good. Even the big fella, Lou Dort, had 9 points, 3 threes, 3 steals. You wanted every bit of that. The threes are there. The steals are there. He added 5 assists. I would never feel confident or comfortable having Dort just sitting on my roster. But for now, we use that when the games appear, and it's just good to have Jalen back. 20 points in 29 minutes for the Bronco with 5 rebounds and 4 assists. It was also an okay game from Wallace, 10 points in 28 minutes. But understand, there was no Wiggins, and then we lost Caruso, so that helped bump the playing time up. Chet, pretty disappointing run here. I'd say that broken hip really has impacted him a lot. He was obviously playing unbelievably well to begin the year, and it just hasn't come back at all. He's nowhere near that number. In fact, he's not even a top 50 per game player this season. 4 and 9 in 25 minutes. That may lead us to getting a decent discount on Chet next season. We'll see, but yeah, I wouldn't be. There's almost no chance he's going in the top 2 rounds. I think he's probably a round 4 player, which I think is where I had him this season anyway. But we'll see what people do with that. But yeah, he's having a bit of struggle at the moment. Chet, and it makes sense after having that fractured hip and being out for that long and a couple of other niggling injuries, it's been a little bit of a problem. The next game, we're going to talk your Chicago Bulls and the Lakers. The Bulls win at 119-117 after Josh Giddey's game winner. Yeah, the big fella, the GOAT, is cooking. Rui Hachimura was out for the Lakers. That's probably why they lost. Dorian Finney-Smith started there. He had 3 points, so we don't worry too much about that. Connect did nothing. Vincent did nothing. They converted Goodwin's contract. He had 8 points and 2 threes. We're not worrying about these guys in nearly any league. LeBron, though, yesterday, after being the man of the Lakers, he had 17 points with 12 assists and the poor game plus the game winner last time. It is a back-to-back. He played 39 minutes. He's a million years old. He's coming off a groin injury. That's not bad for that sort of a situation, but the percentages were killer. You just love that you got some of those other peripherals. We also got, with Hachimura out, a gigantic Jackson Hayes game. And I think that those things are tied. When Rui plays, they go small, and Hayes can't do enough. When Rui's out, we got 32 minutes, 19 and 8 with a block on 82%. This is why, when we talk about dropping players, when they're in the middle of the back-to-back, it's usually not a good idea. You want to see what happens in that second game. You want to see how things develop. Now, if you wanted to move on from Hayes, expecting that Rui's back in the next one, which he will be, that's okay. Doncic had 25 and 10 with 7 assists, and Austin Reeves hurt his ankle but stayed in the game. 30 points, not much else going on apart from the 2 random blocks, but elite percentages and a really strong game. Not much else going on fantasy-wise, though, on that Lakers squad. Where we need to talk about things is the Bulls, because heading into this game, remember, they had Vooch and Josh Giddey both listed on the injury report for some reason. Of course, they had Lonzo Ball listed questionable after he told us he'd be back in a week, but we'll see what they do as we move forward. Let's talk about Giddey, who posted another triple-double. Now, in this game, Giddey's percentages were not there. 42 from the field and 56 from the line. But he took a million free throws. He also had 7 turnovers. And you could tell that the ball is in his hands a lot at the moment. 25, 14, 11. He played 40 minutes. Bruh. 4 threes, including the game winner. These are great numbers. I've not once denied that Josh Giddey is playing amazing and putting up great numbers at the moment. Never once. My thing is, I don't think that he's a very good long-term player. I don't think that he's a star. I don't think that he's going to be a fantasy starter as we move forward because there's so much weirdness at this time of the year with this roster and the rosters they're playing against, plus the outlier shooting. That is all the same. Nothing has changed. This is a great run. It's one of the biggest in-season turnarounds from a player I've ever seen, but it's a great run, and he continues to do it and continues to look great, and he's almost certainly going to be overdrafted next season. Kobe White had a bit of a lean patch in the third quarter, but ended up with 26 with 9 assists and 5 threes. Big volume for him. And Pants. 40 minutes for Kevin Huerter. No Trey Jones, no Lonzo Ball, no Ayo Dosunmu. Big opportunities. 21, 6 and 5, 5 threes for Huerter. He is probably a 12-team league guy. In fact, he was our stream of the day option for today. Vooch just plodded along. Not a bad shooting night, 60%, but 14 and 8, 2 blocks. It's not a bad game. It's not a terrible game. It's basically who he is. A 55 to 75 ranked center. That's literally what he is at the moment. That's what he's putting up. Fantastic. What happened in the last game is that Jalen Smith took over the backup center role from Zach Collins. So Billy Donovan decided, nah, you're getting 0 Jalen Smith. It wasn't even that Jalen Smith played badly in this game and got benched. They just went straight back to Zach Collins. So I was wrong on that. I thought, hey, that's interesting. Jalen Smith took over the backup role. What are we doing here? Well, the thing we're doing is absolutely nothing. So Collins played 10 points, or not played, he played 16 minutes at 10 points. So he was back. Again, I don't really get it, but that's what they did. Smith is bad, don't get me wrong. He's not a good player. Neither is Zach Collins. I just was trying to figure out what the rationale was behind the move from Billy, and I guess there is none. Buzelis had 12 points with 7 rebounds. He is a stream guy. He's actually a sneaky free throw guy and went 4 or 5 from the line here as a big man. A free throws and blocks guy is a weird combo, but he's one of those. But otherwise, we don't really need to do anything like that. Well, 30-minute legend Julian Phillips played 7. Of course he did. 7. Why wouldn't he play 7? That's what you would play after playing 30 minutes about a week ago. Now let's do the Houston Rockets and the Utah Jazz. 121 Houston 110 Jazz. Amen Thompson returned after his late scratch in the last game. That meant that Tari Eason moved to the bench. We'll start with the men. Just 28 minutes, but 15, 10, and 5, triple one, elite field goals. Fantastic game. What about the two bench big men or bench forwards? Jabari, what did he do? 11 points, 9 rebounds, shit shooting, terrible, bad. Tari Eason, 15 and 7, 3 threes, stealing the block, pretty good. You definitely have Eason over Smith, and we're holding on to Eason in 12s. We don't bother with Jabari. But speaking of bad, what is that from Fred VanVleet? There's a lot of ones in that line, and some of that's fine. Like 1 steal is good, 1 block is good. 1 3 is not that good, but 1 rebound is putrid. But then what about the 11.1% recurring for his field goals? Desmond Bain looked at that and went, almost, Fred, you almost got me. He also was just 1 of 1 from the line. It has been a really disappointing season from Fred, and I thought that he was able to maintain at least third roundish sort of value. I was wrong. Like, he is an older, short point guard, and we know the cliff comes for them. I thought we might have 1 more year of that. I don't think we do. Well, obviously we don't. It's done, and whatever happens for him next season, I'm not expecting a bounce back. Really has not been impressive. Dylan Brooks did his sort of thing, 10 points with 2 threes, while Jalen Green was inefficient from both areas, field and line. But we got the 20 points or 21 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. Şengün, 33 and 10, 2 blocks, really good numbers, and actually a surprise. Well, look at the free throws. 11 of 13 from the line is ridiculously good, considering how bad he normally is from there. Was it 11? I think it was 11. I'm just double checking that. 11 of 13. I was correct. Trust yourself, Josh. You can do it. Let's talk about the Jazz side of things, because amazingly, they were able to go into this game with the same starting lineup. Now, they are, at the moment, the number 1 lottery seed. They will want to continue to hold that position. Jordan Clarkson's out for the year. They haven't told us that John Collins is out, but he is. I don't really know what to make of Lauri Markkanen and his situation, but I feel confident in saying he's not going to touch 30 minutes a game. And also my bet from about 3 months ago where he wouldn't play 4 games in a single week is also looking pretty good. Filipowski, absolutely cooked. 16, 7, and 4, 2 steals and 2 blocks. Elite percentages. The 2 steals and 2 blocks is part of why I really liked him as a prospect. Now, none of that has happened in the NBA until now. He hasn't got anything defensively going, but he flashed it all here. It's just so enticing and so frustrating. If we knew that there was 30 minutes every night for Filipowski, we'd be absolutely all in. But sometimes he plays backup center only. Sometimes he starts at the 4. Today in this game, he started at the 4 and he was great, but that doesn't always happen. I still think that outside of Walker Kessler, he's probably going to be the best option, and then Keontae and then Isaiah Collier. But I don't have any faith in that. I don't know what they're going to do on a game-by-game basis. George was solid, 17 points with 8 assists. The 7 of 7 from the line is great. He still remains fringy. So does Collier, who had 16, 1 and 5 with a triple one, and it was actually a bad Walker Kessler game. He went from taking 8 threes a game to taking 3 shots total. 2 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks. We also got, again, how can we judge this? Colin Sexton, I think, played 17 minutes last game. He played 32 here. All right. 21, 1 and 5 with a steal. I just think that they'll be very cautious about, hey, are we going to win this, or do we need to get Sexton out of here? Now, Sexton's not always a big driver of winning. He's fine to have, but I wouldn't feel any level of confidence in rolling with Sexton in terms of when he's going to play or how much is he going to play. We also got an okay game out of Sensible, but realistically, again, I just don't want to trust it. Kessler, I will have. Filipowski is a maybe, and then everyone else. George, Collier, Sexton, never Cody Williams, and then down to Sensible. These are like, maybe, we'll see, we'll try it, but the level of confidence and the willingness you have to get kicked completely square in the rectum has got to be high. You've got to have a willingness to do that, because that is what is going to happen with these guys all the way through here. And you're never going to know when it's going to hit. You want a level of, hey, what's the high upside and how safe can we feel with the floor? And with most of them, the answer is not that safe. But you're going to get numbers, because in every NBA game, there will be numbers. Somebody will put them up. It's just trying to find the guys that can do it semi or 75, 80% consistently. And we haven't really had that in Utah, not for a while anyway. Now let's do the final game. The Portland Trail Blazers lose to the Kings 128-107. Same starting lineup here for the Blazers. That's still without Jeremy Grant, who was doubtful again, the legend, and Ayton was out. Kamara was questionable coming in, but he played. Then when we got another big load out of Denny Avdia. 32 minutes, 24-9, 4 threes. Elite shooting from the field and from the line. That's what sunk him in the last game. He's been great down the stretch here. Really putting up big numbers. And I think his value next season is going to really depend on how the team looks and what the roster is. We also, out of nowhere, got a big Dwop Reith game. They benched Donovan Clingan. Not benched, he started, but he played 18 minutes. Reith played 28. 17 and 5, steal, block, 3 threes. Really good. Now, it's taken 5 centers to be done, or 4 how many? Like Williamson, 8 of the guys that are out, sorry. And then he overtook Jabari Walker. That's good from Reith. I wouldn't necessarily run to grab him. And I think Klingon's a hold, but again, we have to understand how good or not good he is. He is okay, and if you don't want to hold him, it is totally fine. Rough offensive game from Kamara, who had 6 points on 8 shots. That's clearly not very good, but the 4 steals are. And then we had a good game from Simons, a good game from Sharp, a 3-steal game from Thibault, which is what you want, and that is only for streaming for that, and then another bad one from Scoot. 6 points, 25%, 6 assists. He has really, really fallen off. He is tough to consider a 12-team league guy. You don't consider him a must-roster guy. There'll be the occasional spike game. You stream him in, and that's probably about it. What the probably more interesting thing was in this game was the fact that we got switcherooed by the Sacramento Kings, because they did get Malik Monk back from illness, but they didn't start Malik Monk. So that graphic says Malik Monk, and I'd already created that before the game started. But we got switcherooed. It was Keon Ellis who stayed in the starting lineup. And then we thought, okay, was it a mix-up? Was Monk still sick? Was it a conditioning thing? And old mate Doug Christie just said, no, actually, that's what we planned. We planned Keon Ellis to start. Thanks for lying about it. So I don't know. This is what I don't get. Like, they announced it in the starting lineup. Malik Monk was introduced as a starter. So, like, you planned that, did you? But Malik Monk was announced as a starter. I need to go actually watch the footage of that to see whether did Monk come out with the starters in the introduction? Because, again, then you're lying again. You lied on the lineup, and then you lied when you told us it was always the plan, and there must have been a mix-up at the scorer's table. Was there a mix-up at the scorer's table? Anyone who watched the beginning of that game, before the game tipped off, did Malik Monk come out and do the intros with the starters? Because that sort of shit just shouldn't be allowed to happen, honestly. That's the sort of stuff that I really get on the NBA about late changes and late reporting. So what did we do here? Ellis played 31 minutes. He had 10 points. That stinks, clearly, but who cares? Because he got 6 steals and a block. 30 minutes of Keon Ellis, which I don't know that he's going to start because Doug Christie was like, oh, well, it says it, game boy game. All right, my guy. Let's see how that goes. 6 steals and a block is worth it. So just, we hold on to Ellis for now. Now, I also don't think that Malik Monk is going to play 17 minutes. That would be insane. He scored well, so 16, 3, and 2 is fine and shot 67%. But if it maintains at an 18-minute role, which again is crazy to me considering out of their 3 perimeter scoring guys, he hasn't been the worst. In fact, the worst would be one of those 2 former Chicago Bulls players. Yeah, but he's the one that gets benched. I wouldn't move on from Monk, even though this is frustrating. DeRozan had 21 with 10 assists. Levine was actually really good as well in this game, 29, but absolutely nothing else, and both guys shot ridiculous percentages. This is an interesting game. So it looks like the Kings are back on track, and it's the Keon Ellis effect and all that sort of stuff. They shot, get Nagiri of this, 65% from the field. I have never seen a more outlier game in my life. Now, the Blazers and their defense, obviously not very good. Klingon struggled. They benched him, all that sort of stuff. But maybe there's been one. I can't recall ever seeing a game where a team shoots 65% from the field. That is really what led to a lot of this stuff. 72 from Levine, 60 from DeRozan, 64 from Keegan Murray, who's on a nice little run here. Sabonis, a 22, 19, and 6 game on 82%. Just absolute insane efficiency numbers. What was the team's true shooting? It's got to be something crazy. Or 75, bloody hell. That is an insane number. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. So, for now, add Ellis. Oh, by the way, drop Valanciunas and Trey Lyles. They're not doing anything here. Grab Ellis and see where we go. Hold Monk and see what happens. But very frustrating to have them switcheroo us like that. Let's do lines of the night to wrap the show up. The monstrous line of the night. We are going to go to a player with some big defensive numbers. Scott Pippen. 5 steals to go with 17 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 30-plus minutes. As long as Demetrius Morant is out, we are really liking Scott. The waiver wire line of the night. We're going to head to Keon Ellis. Another steals game. 6 steals with a block. 10 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. We'll grab him and then we'll see what happens. The young gun of the night. The best first or second year player. Across the day, it's Kyle Filipowski. 16 and 7 with 4 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Great production across the line. I gave my thoughts on him earlier. And your dud of the night, it's got to be another first-year player, Zachary Ricochet. A lot of people have grabbed him, and he delivered 5 points with 4 assists. And I just don't think he's going to get to 30 minutes a game, unfortunately, this season. What we are going to get to right now, though, is the end of the show. So, on National Black Forest Cake Day, eat your slice, set your lineups, enjoy the Kings screwing us over, and hitting the thumb on the video, leaving your comments below. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.